हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
प्रणाम प्रभु जी, माता जी, हरे कृष्णा, जय श्री प्रभु।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्रीला प्रभुपाद एंड गुरु महाराज।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम, जय श्री प्रभुपाद।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम, जय श्री प्रभुपाद।
दंडवत प्रणाम, हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम, जय श्री प्रभुपाद।
दंडवत प्रणाम, हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Jai Shri Prabhuji.
Dharma Pranam Pravinam. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी धन्यवाद प्रणाम
Dharma Pranam. Hare Krishna. Okay. So we'll begin here. Om Agyanti Mirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadvitam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padhan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhuve Evacha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिने नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम्. So we are reading from Shrimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, chapter number 3. The name of chapter is Pure Devotional Service, the Change of Heart. I think first two chapters we discussed about the path of like Sukadeva Goswami starts speaking with taking the path of bhakti directly, and especially chanting and hearing. And then he speaks about um, there are many yogis who are Ashtanga yogis. So first he speaks about Ashtanga yoga in chapter 1 and continues Ashtanga yoga in chapter 2. The first chapter discusses about the description of universal form, and the second chapter discusses about the description of the form of Paramatma. And the detached yogi and attached yogi. Attached yogi focuses as his dharana ashray. He meditates on the universal form, and there's a description how to meditate. And a detached yogi, he meditates on the Paramatma, and there's a description of how the Lord looks, and one can meditate limb by limb. There's a description given. And then we discussed about how they both attain liberation. One of them directly go by raising the life there and leaving from the Shishunala chakra, from the head, directly going to Brahman realization or Vaikuntha planet. Whereas the attached yogi, he goes through the path of the sun till and then crosses the middle of the universe and keeps going up to Janalok, Taplok, Mahalok, Satyalok. Then he can wait till the end of Brahma's life, or he can cross the 7, 8 coverings of the universe and then become purified and attain Brahman. And then last chapter we also discuss about a yogi. He rejects the path of karma, which is mainly for fruitive attachments. I mean, Sukadeva Goswami says one should reject the path of karma, which is mainly for fruitive attachments only, no bhakti in the center, but just working for one's pleasure. And then Sukadeva Goswami says because it can be seen that those who are engaged in fruitive actions, they have a lot of anxiety and suffering in their life. So one should reject that path. And then one should live whatever it takes to keep the body and soul together. A simple life. And as Sukadeva Goswami also describes a description of simple life, which is too simple life. If you have hands, what is the need of pillow? If there's a earth is flat, why need pots? Are the trees not giving charity anymore? When you have the palms, why need the utensils? Is the Lord not protecting those who are surrendered? Um, are are the rivers empty? Is there no water there? And if the trees are there, then why need clothing? When tree barks are there no torn rags on the street? So there is a description of Sukadeva Goswami describes, because he would live by that principle. So he's describing that those who are running behind many other things, although with the vision of seeking pleasure, the result is not, and it's not that what we see is not only what they want, but they get many things else, which is anxiety and suffering. So Karma Kanda, Sukadeva Goswami already rejected the path of Karma Kanda, and there is more description in this chapter, begins with. Then again, Sukadeva Goswami says that in response to your question about the activities of a dying man, in response to what you ask, I have explained you the path of direct mukti and karma mukti. We saw both. Direct mukti was meditating on Paramatma, and karma mukti was through the path of going through different planetary systems and going up. And bhakti path is for one who are intelligent. Less intelligent people, they take these other path, but direct bhakti, intelligent man take. And that's where the chapter ends with, is take the path of bhakti. And now in the beginning, those who are not intelligent or who are attached, those who are karma kandi, what do they, what demigod they worship for? What is their desire? If those who have fruitive desire, they approach particular demigods, and then there's a description in the beginning. And Sukadeva Goswami says those who want absorption in impersonal Brahman, they should worship Brahma. They worship Brahma. Those who want like a lot of sex life, they worship Indra. Those who want good progeny, they worship Daksha. Those who want good fortune, they worship Durga Devi. Those who want power, they worship Agni. Those who want money, they worship Vasus. Those who want to be a great hero, they worship Rudra. Those who want a large stock of grains, they worship Aditi. Those who want to go to heavenly planets, they worship Adityas. Worldly kingdom, they worship Vishwadeva, becoming very opulent in this world. Those who want to become famous, they worship Sadhya. Those who want long life, they worship Ashwini Kumaras. Those who want strong body, they worship Mother Earth. Those who want stability in their posts, they worship Earth again. Those who want to become very beautiful, they should worship Gandharvas. Those who want a good wife, they worship Apsaras and Urvashi. Those who want to control others, or lead over others, or dominate over others, again they can worship Brahma. Again, for tangible fame, they should worship the Supreme Lord, because devotees naturally, their fame spread all over the three worlds. Then those who want good, again wealth, good bank balance, it seems, worship Varuna. Vast learning, worship Lord Shiva. Good marriage relationship, worship Uma. Spiritual advancement, should worship Vishnu or Krishna's devotees. Those who want to protect their lineage, like dynasty, heredity. Those who want to protect that, they can worship their various demigods for them. Those who want to dominate over a kingdom or an empire worship the Manus. Those who want victory over an enemy worship demons. And those who want lot of sense gratification, they can worship moon. So in this way, Sukadeva Goswami describes, Sukadeva Goswami, if we see one thing about Sukadeva Goswami, everything Sukadeva Goswami is describing very detailed. Karmis, karmakandis, roti workers, yogis, and different kinds of yogis, and what path they take. Because what is the duty of a man who is about to die in 7 days begins with, okay, there are different paths. And there is a path of Karma Kanda, and these are the details. There is a path of Ashtanga Yoga. In Ashtanga Yoga, there are 2 different sections, and these are the details. So Sukadeva Goswami, it shows that how he is super clear about the path of Karma Kanda, about the path of Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and putting all those minute details in his this. And this is just the conversation just began in the second canto, and he's describing these details. And then this very famous verse comes. I am sure some of you may have heard. It says, Akama sarva kamava moksha kama udharati tivrena bhakti yogena yajata purusham param. This is the summary of Karmakanda section. And Sukadeva Goswami says, Akama. Akama means even if you have no material desire. Sarva kamava, or if you are full of material desires. And there are 26 material desires described. And where do people go? To whom do people go to fulfill those 26 material desires? Where do बेवकूफ लोग, less intelligent people, बुद्धिहीन लोग, वो लोग कहाँ जाते हैं? Where do they go? Those who have no intelligence, they go to these demigods. And then the summary conclusion of this section is, if you are full of material desires, or if you are without desire, or moksha kama, or if you are desiring liberation, which again, this section, the first one says that if you want to attain Brahman, worship Brahma. So if you have that desire for liberation, in personal liberation, if you have all these other 25 desires, if you have no desire, akama, sarvokama, moksha kama, whatever your desire is, tivrena bhakti yogena, then you should simply perform tivra bhakti to yajeta. Yajeta means the source of yagyas. One who is served through yagyas. Yajeta Purusham Palam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by Yagya, which is Vishnu or Krishna. Whatever be it, worship Krishna. So if you see, Sukadeva Goswami is very clear in what Parikshit Maharaj should do. He begins with bhakti, then he described these 2 paths of yoga, and then he says bhakti is superior to both these. And their bhakti path goes to directly the supreme spiritual planet. They don't depend upon these conditions. Then already rejected the path of attachment, live for bare minimum and serve the Lord. And those who worship demigods in these ways, then if you want worship demigods for whatever desire you want to worship demigods, then worship Krishna only even for those desires. In other words, do nothing other than serving Krishna. And then Sukadeva Goswami says, which Krishna also says, that these demigods, if you worship, Sukadeva Goswami says, they will not take you to Krishna. These demigod worshippers. Krishna also says that those who worship these demigods, they go to the parent of these demigods. So Sukadeva Goswami emphasizes that don't think that everything leads to the same path, leads to the same goal. So demigod worship is not going to give bhakti, not going to give bhakti. And then again, another conclusion, he says only devotee association can give bhakti. Sukadeva Goswami says that demigod worshippers can achieve tivra bhakti only if they get the association of devotees, not otherwise. So the essence is there are these desires, people worship these different demigods to fulfill those desires. Whatever desire you have, you worship Krishna with intense. And how do we get intense bhakti? That intense bhakti can be achieved only by devotee association. Okay. Etavan eva yajatam iha nishreyashodaya bhagavati achalo bhavo yad bhagavata sangataha. Bhagavat Sangha. If you want bhav to Bhagavati, if you want pure devotion to Bhagavan, yad, it is attained to Bhagavat Sangata. Those who are Bhagavata, Bhagavati is Bhagavan and Bhagavata is Bhakta. So Bhagavata Sangata, the Sangha of devotee will give Bhava to Bhagavati, Bhav to Bhagavan. So very, very nice verse. Then Sukadeva Goswami says, even the path of Jnanis, even those, again, describe the Ashtanga Yogi, describe the Karma Kandi. Now, one verse about Jnanis, even those Jnanis, then there's a description about Jnanis. Who are Jnanis? Jnanis are basically whose goal is Brahman realization. Or those who have attained Brahman realization are Jnanis. Example of Jnanis is Sukadeva Goswami before he came across Shrimad Bhagavatam. He was a Jnani. The characteristics of Jnanis, they are self-satisfied. We see Sukadeva Goswami was not attracted, no material desire, not attracted to his parents, and was not associating himself with his own father, knowing that he is eternal, was not attracted to the woman, and they could also see that he was very pure. Because he was internally satisfied. Those who are internally satisfied, those who are free from the three modes of material nature, or liberated from the three modes of material nature, those who are transcendental because they have been away from the three modes, they also become attracted to Bhakti Yoga. And Sukadeva Goswami himself is the example. He was liberated soul, free from the three modes, self-satisfied, but he was very much attracted to Hari Katha, especially the hearing part of Hari Katha. So Hari Katha is possible only in Bhagavata Sangata. So when there is Hari Katha, the hearing about the Lord, the Jnanis can become Bhaktis. The karmis can become bhaktis. The karma kandis can become bhaktis. That's the power of Hari Katha. Sukadeva Goswami himself, by hearing Bhagavatam, became a devotee, and likewise demigod worshippers also, by hearing about Krishna, will be attracted to Krishna because Krishna is all attractive. And they, through what the purpose of association is Hari Katha. Association is not come together and go to some place for people can go for outing, but then actually Bhagavad Sangha is when Bhagavan is in the center. When the katha, when the discussion between them is about Bhagavan, then that is real Bhagavata Sangata. Other things are we need relationship, we need social relationship, all approved. If you want, social needs are there, should be done in association of devotees. But then it is best when devotee association keep Krishna in the center or discuss about Krishna in the center. So even the Jnanis, they are attracted to Hari Katha, then why not demigod worshippers? So the essence, those who are less intelligent, they have many desires, they worship these various demigods. If you have those desires, still worship Krishna. With Tivra Bhakti, how to attain Tivra Bhakti by Bhagavad Sangata. What aspect of association of devotees leads to Tivra Bhakti, and that is Hari Katha. And even the Gyanis who are self-realized, even they are attracted to Harikatha. This also comes in first canto. Sutta Goswami says about the verse of Atma Ramascha Muneyo. Even those who are Atma Rama self-satisfied, even they are attracted to the glories of God. And then after speaking this, then the conversation again goes between Sutta Goswami and Sonak Rishi in Nemesharani. And then Sutta Goswami stops speaking. Then the sages are very eager to hear more. So the sages tell Sutta Goswami, again back to one conversation before. The sages headed by Sonak Rishi, they tell Sutta Goswami, what did Maharaj Parikshit further inquire from Sukadev Goswami? So he stops. Why? Because Parikshit Maharaj asked this question about um, to Sukadev Goswami, the duty of a man who is about to die and what is good for people in general. Then Sukadev Goswami describes what is good for people in general as Bhakti Yoga. And then along with describing the positive aspect and the supremacy of Bhakti Yoga, he describes the other path which less intelligent people take and what is a deficiency in the path of Gyan, in the path of Karma Kanda, in the path of Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yogi attains Brahman realization. Karma Kandis, they remain here in misery and suffering and worship demigods, and they go to planet of demigods and continue cycle of birth and death. The Gyan is self-satisfied, but Bhakti Yoga is higher because even they are attracted to Harikatha. And these sages are very much eager to hear more Harikatha. But Sutta Goswami stops speaking because the question is answered. So the sages are asking, sir, tell us more. The conversation happened for 7 days and we have just begun. So, O Sutta, they are glorifying Sutta Goswami. They say, O Sutta, you are Vidwan. Vidwan means सब कुछ जानते हैं आप तो. You are very learned. You know all the Shastra, you know everything about the Lord. You are very Vidwan. And we are very eager to hear. So please continue Harikatha. That should be discussed among devotees. So we are very eager. You know everything. So why did you stop? Tell us more about what all conversation happened. It was a long 7-day conversation. Then they said, Parikshit Maharaj was a great devotee. The sages are telling, Parikshit Maharaj was a great devotee. Since childhood, he would act Krishna's pastimes and he would worship the family deity. And he would have his own small little imitation deity that he would worship and he would assist the worshipping the family deity. He would perform Krishna's pastime, very attracted to Krishna. He was a great devotee. Sukadev Goswami was also a great devotee. He was Vasudeva Parayana, the verse says. So he was also a great devotee who self-realized from birth and then became perfect after hearing Bhagavatam. So Parikshit Maharaj was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Sukadev Goswami was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. So their conversation must have been very, very deep and divine. And to hear that conversation is the best utilization of time. Then this very famous verse, many very nice verses are there in this chapter. This verse some of you may have heard. Ayu hanati vaipumsam udyanashtam chayanashav tashyarte yashano nita uttama shloka vartaya. It says Ayu harati vaipumsam udyam ashtam chayan ashav. Udya means astam. Ast means when it goes down. Udyan means when it's come up. And it refers to the sun. The sun, every rise and setting of the sun, Ayu harati. We are approaching death. The lifespan is reducing with every sunrise and sunset. And then it says, Tasyarte yashano nita uttama shloka vartaya. Uttama shloka means that which describes the glories of the Lord in choicest poetry. Any activity other than Harikatha steals away one's lifespan with the rising and setting of the sun. So every day we are one day closer. It is every sunrise, every sunset. Our life is getting stolen away. Except for those who are engaged in Harikatha. Why? Because Hari Katha is taking us one day, Hari Katha taking us one day closer to Krishna, one day more closer to Krishna. So it is said, a devotee, every sunrise, sunset, he is one day closer to eternity, to Krishna prem. But a materialist, every sunrise, sunset, he is simply a day closer to his death. That's all he gets, and gets another birth. So the best utilization of time, I mean, people have different understanding of how to best utilization of how to best utilize my time. But according to the Sonak Rishi, who is setting an example by sitting in front of Sukadev Goswami, in front of Sutta Goswami, and just listening. They're just absorbed in Hari Katha. And they are telling this is the best utilization of time. Acharya is one who preaches by his own example. And they are sitting and they are listening. For us, if we listen for 2 hours, then we'll think like, oh, there's many things to do, and why just do Hari Katha? Let's do multiplexing. Let's do many things at a time. So let's get so many things done. And Hari Katha is okay. Hari Katha is okay. But they are just sitting and they are listening. Sukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj, just sitting 7 days, 7 nights, all the sages, and just listening Hari Katha. So the sages are telling Sutta Goswami, this is the best utilization of time. Otherwise, say sunset and sunrise and sunset steal away one's life. But we are engaged in Hari Katha. Then they say, so many people do so many things. Do the trees not live long? The trees live they don't live, they also live. Do the beast not eat? The beast is all the animals and all the living entities, all the beasts, do they not eat? They also eat. And the trees also live. The blacksmith, they also breathe. And the beast also discharge semen. So this is what people generally do. There is sex life, there is eating, there is sleeping, there is breathing, there is living. So all those people also do. The beasts do, they eat and they discharge semen. The blacksmith breathe, the trees, they live. So they are doing all the same things. Animalistic people, those people who are like animals, their ears have never heard about Krishna, and their tongues have never glorified about Krishna. And those people who do not hear about Krishna, do not glorify Krishna, do not associate with devotees of Krishna, they are just like dogs, pigs, camels, and donkeys. little bit strong, but they are like कुत्ते के समान है, सुअर के समान है, गधे के समान है. Those people who don't hear about Krishna, who don't glorify Krishna, वो कुत्ता सुअर गधे के समान लोग. In Hindi we say. Why? Because they are every sunrise and every sunset, they are one day closer to death. I mean, Hindi बोलने में लगता है कि wow, really criticizing. And interestingly, Sukadeva Goswami describes them as animalistic people. This is very Shastric because Mahabharata says the difference between humans and animals is dharma. Pashunam nirnanam. Samanam Pashunam nirnam. Pashu and Nara, Pashu, animal and human are samanam, are equal. Dharmena hina. Without dharma, they are same. And that's what we say the difference between, and the commonality between animal and human is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But the difference is dharma, which here is further elaborated by the sages who are telling that's why you want to hear about the Lord, hear about Lord Krishna, hear about Hari Katha. And then goes little intense. The sages goes little intense about those people who don't keep Krishna at the center. Little strong verses, but I will repeat them. Then those who have ear holes, and if those ears are not used to listen Hari Katha, their ears are compared to holes of a snake. So snakes actually does not have ears. Snake cannot hear. So those ear holes that don't let Hari Katha go inside their ears, their ear holes are compared to ear holes or holes of a snake. Those tongue that don't chant the glories of the Lord and the names of the Lord, their tongue is compared to the tongue of a frog. And scriptures describe the tongue of a frog invites death. So the frog wants to become very attractive and make some sound, and the snake knows that, oh, there is a frog, my food, and the snake goes and snake eats the frog. So those tongue that don't chant and don't glorify the Lord, their tongue is compared to that of a frog. Those upper bodies, though crowned by silken turbans, if those head which is crowned by a silken turban, if that head doesn't bow down before the Lord who awards mukti, mukunda, they don't bow down to mukunda. For them, the head is only a heavy burden. It's like they're carrying a burden on their neck. Actually, the head is a very heavy part of the body. If you see mass-wise also, it's very heavy part. So their head is just a burden on their neck. Those hands, though they have very nice bangles on them, if they don't engage in serving Hari or serving devotees of Hari, those hands are like the hands of a dead man. If you see the hand of a dead man, no use. So those hands may be glittering with bangles, but they are like hands of a dead man. Then those eyes that don't look at the deity form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or the painting or any form of the Lord, or the form of the devotees of the Lord. Their eyes are compared to the plumes of the peacock. So peacock plumes are like it's called the eye, um, the feather, the feather, the inside of a feather, peacock feather. It's like an eye. There is a blackish portion. There is a bluish. There is a blackish. So um, yeah, and the center portion is black. So that's like it's compared to an eye, but it's not really an eye. It's called plumes of a peacock. So they're basically referring to holes of a snake which doesn't exist, tongue of a frog that um, invites death, heavy burden, like somebody, if you have to carry 50 kgs on your head, it's like it's a headache. It's a torture to carry 50 kgs on the head. But then you are carrying such a big head which is so heavy, which doesn't go down to Mukunda. Then the hands like a hand of a dead man if they don't serve Hari and Bhakta. The eyes are like he is like without eyes. Plume of a peacock means andha hai bechara. And basically, none of these senses are of any use unless they are used in the service of the Lord. Then the legs which don't go to the holy places are compared to the tree trunks. Trunk क्या है? एक जगह खड़ा रहता है कुछ मतलब उसके leg मतलब they don't have legs, the trees. So leg, if they don't go to visit holy places, then it's as good as not having legs. Then the person who does not receive the dust of the pure devotees' feet on his head, or experience the tulsi aroma from the lotus feet of the Lord. If you don't take tulsi from the lotus feet, if the body if the body don't smear the dust from the feet of Vaishnavas and don't experience the fragrance of tulsi that is coming from the lotus feet of the Lord, then that body is compared to a dead body. And the heart that does not transform even after chanting the holy name of the Lord is considered to be made of steel. If it does not melt upon chanting Lord's names, it's a heart made of steel. Therefore, and it's a very short chapter, it's just 25 verses. And the last verse says, therefore, please speak Hari Katha that happened between Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. So first they glorify Maharaj Parikshit was a pure devotee since his childhood he was engaged in um, enacting the pastimes of Lord Krishna, serve the deities of family deities of Lord Krishna. Sukadeva Goswami, who was liberated from birth and then became pure devotee of Krishna by hearing Shrimad Bhagavatam, what kind of conversation happened between them? Speak those to us. And those who don't engage their time, this is the best reflection of time, is to hear Harikatha. Those who don't use their time Harikatha, their life is reduced with every sunrise and sunset. And there's a description of those people who don't hear Harikatha. They are compared to animals, animalistic people compared to dogs, pigs, camels, and donkeys. And the hand is useless, the eyes are useless, the tongue is useless, the heart is useless, the legs are useless, the body is useless, and everything else that it says, the head, everything else in one way or the other. There is a comparison that what is the use of having those things if they're not used in serving Hari? They are just like, the animals also live, the trees also live, um, the blacksmith also live, the beasts also live. So what is the difference between them and us? So the best utilization of time for us is to hear Hari Katha. And best conversation took place between Sukadeva Goswami Maharaj Parikshit. So please continue speaking. So this is the whole chapter. And let's see if there is any discussion. Otherwise, we can read a verse on chanting. Read one verse. Very famous verse. You all can see the screen.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. This is from second chapter, second canto, third chapter, the change in the heart, pure devotional service. And I think, yeah, the second last verse. Tadashmasaram hridayam batedam yadgriyamanay harinamadeya navikriyetatha yada vikaro netre jalam gatra ruheshu harsha. The transformation of heart and ecstatic symptoms are described. Certainly that heart is still framed, which in spite of once chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration does not change with when ecstasy takes place. Tears fill the eyes or tears stand on end. And probably most of us are in this category that tears don't fill our eyes, ecstasy don't change, ecstasy don't come, heart does not transform, hair don't stand on end when we chant the Lord's names. But we are working in that direction. We are trying to become pure. We should not with profit that in the first three chapters of the second canto, a gradual process of development of devotional service is being presented. In the first chapter, the first step in devotional service of God consciousness by the process of hearing and chanting has been stressed, and a gross conception, which is the universal form of the personality of Godhead in his universal form for the beginners, is recommended. By such a gross conception of God through the material manifestation of his energy, one is enabled to spiritualize the mind and senses and gradually concentrate the mind upon Lord Vishnu, the Supreme, who is present as the super soul in every heart and everywhere in every atom of the universe. The system of Pancha Upasana, recommending 5 mental attitudes for a common man, is also inactive for this purpose, namely gradual development, worship of the superiors that may be in the form of fire, electricity, sun, mass of living beings, Lord Shiva, and at last, the impersonal super soul, the partial representation of Lord Vishnu. They are all nicely described in the second chapter. But in the third chapter, further development is prescribed after one has actually reached the stage of Vishnu worship or pure devotional service, and the mature stage of Vishnu worship is suggested herein in relation to the change of heart. Basically, this Panchopasana was started by Adi Shankarshan, the incarnation of Lord Shiva. and they are okay. That includes basically worshipping the super soul and the demigod worshippers, and both have already been discussed. And the highest thing is discussed as the pure devotional service. The whole process of spiritual culture is aimed at discharging the heart of the living being in the matter of his eternal. Is aimed at changing the heart of a living being in the matter of his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord as subordinate servant, which is his eternal constitutional position. So, with the progress of devotional service, the reaction of change in the heart is exhibited by gradual development from the sense of material enjoyment by a false sense of lording it over the world, and an increase in the attitude of rendering loving service to the Lord. So Prabhupada is telling there is a gradual development, there is a gradual detachment as we take to the path of bhakti, and the heart changes. And what is the symptom that there is a change in the heart? There is a gradual detachment from keeping me in the center, from material enjoyment, from my sense gratification, from lording it over to the sense object or to other living entities, or to the material nature, from the sense of lording it over, from the perspective of sense gratification. There's a gradual detachment, and there is an increase in attitude of rendering loving service to the Lord. Of rendering loving service to the Lord. By the bhakti or regulated devotional service by the limbs of the body, namely the eyes, the ears, the nose, the hands, the legs, as already explained here and before, we discussed those, how the eyes, ears, nose, hands, legs should be used. And then those who don't use are compared to, there is a comparison given. Regulated devotional service by the limbs of the body is now stressed herein in relation to the mind, which is the impetus for all activities of the limbs of the body. And if the legs are engaged, the hands are engaged, then eventually the mind will also be engaged. It is expected by all means that by discharging regulated devotional service, one must manifest the change of the heart. And gradually, it won't happen. But by using our head, using our hand, using our legs, using our ears, using our tongue, using our eyes, one must manifest the change of the heart will change. If there is no such change, even after practicing bhakti, the heart must be considered a steel frame, for it is not melted even when there is chanting of the holy name of the Lord. We must always remember that hearing and chanting are the basic principles of discharging devotional duties, and if they are not properly performed, there will follow the reactional ecstasy. If they are properly performed, there will follow the reactional ecstasy with signs of tears in the eyes and standing of the hairs on the body. These are natural consequences and are the preliminary symptoms of bhava stage, which occurs when one reaches the perfectional stage of prema, love of God. So bhava stage, as one approaches the stage of bhava, these ecstatic symptoms will come, and bhava stage will lead to the stage of prema. But bhava stage goes far away. Before bhava stage, there is anartha nivritti. After sadhu sangha, there is anartha nivritti. There is nishtha, steadiness, free from impurities, majorly free from impurities. There is ruchi, a higher taste. There is ashakti, attachment, and then these symptoms start to occur. But it may take decades or it may take lifetimes also. Hopefully decades. Krishna willing. If the reaction does not take place, even after continuous hearing and chanting of the holy name of the Lord, it may be considered to be due to offenses only. So one thing is, it just takes time because the heart is impure. But then even after continuously doing it for a long time, and say many decades or for a long time, and still the heart is not changing, then while practicing hearing and chanting, there are some offenses happening, and that just delays the process. That is the opinion of the Sandarbha. In the beginning of chanting of the holy name of the Lord, if a devotee has not been very careful about evading the 10 kinds of offenses at the feet of the holy name, certainly the reaction of feelings of separation will not be visible by tears in the eyes and standing of the hair on end. And these are the symptoms of separation. The symptoms of ecstasy are because of separation. They will not be visible when the offenses happens. The bhava stage is manifested by 8 transcendental symptoms, namely inertness, perspiration, one starts sweating, standing of hair on the end, feeling of the voice, trembling, paleness of the body, tears in the eyes, and finally trance. The Nectar of Devotion, a summary study of Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, explains those symptoms and vividly describes other transcendental developments, both in steady and accelerating manifestations. In other words, Rupa Goswami Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, describes in detail what happened from beginning to end. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has very critically discussed all these bhava displays in connection with some unscrupulous neophytes imitating the above symptoms for cheap appreciation. Some people, actually, I have also seen, some people, they try to force these symptoms. See, I have tears, I am crying. And if they have some tears, they want to show to others and they want to make some facial expressions as if they have a lot of devotion. Or, I mean, here standing on a little difficult, but at least tears they display sometimes, or they display some trembling, or these are considered very cheap. Some unscrupulous neophytes, I mean, they are naturally neophytes. So they imitate the above symptoms for cheap appreciation and they want to be respected as great devotees of the Lord. This is considered cheap appreciation because by that you won't get anything. The goal is not that people appreciate us. The goal is actually the prema develops and the goal is we go back to God. The goal is we become pure. It's an internal progress. It's not about how people perceive us. It's about how much I have made progress in my life. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has very critically discussed all these bhava displays in neophytes for cheap appreciation. Not only Vishwanath Chakravarti, but also Srila Rupa Goswami treated them very critically. Sometimes all the above 8 symptoms of ecstasy are imitated by mundane devotees, Prakrita Sahajiyas. Prakrita Sahajiyas are, they don't have real devotion, but they act, show off. And they display all these, they start trembling and their body color starts changing because of their physical activity. And they show it or they think themselves also that I have attained perfection. But the pseudo symptoms are at once detected when one sees the pseudo devotee addicted to so many forbidden things. But then we see those people who are exhibiting those things, then they are attracted to women, they are attracted to the wine and smoking, and they are attracted to so many things in the material world. There are so many desires, and they are exhibiting these symptoms. This is not possible. We discussed this in our Bhakti Shastri Bhava stage last week. We discussed that is not bhava when we have material desires. It may happen by devotee association. It's called Chaya Bhas or Pratibimba Bhas. We discussed last week. But then it's just the abhas, it's just a shadow. Even though decorated with the signs of a devotee, the devotee addicted to smoking, drinking, or illegitimate sex with women cannot have all the above mentioned ecstatic symptoms. But it is seen that sometimes these symptoms are willfully imitated. And for this reason, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he accuses the imitators of being stone-hearted men. They are sometimes even affected by the reflection of such transcendental symptoms. Yet, if they still do not give up the forbidden habits, then they are hopeless cases for transcendental realization. But if they don't give up these forbidden habits, then there is no hope for them for transcendental realization. When Lord Chaitanya met Sri Ramananda Rai of Kuvaur on the bank of Godavari, that is a place Rajmandri, the Lord developed all these symptoms, but because of the presence of some non-devotee Brahmanas who were attendants of the ride, the Lord suppressed these symptoms. So we see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was naturally exhibiting because he is the Lord and he came in the mood of Srimati Radharani's bhav. So it was very obvious for him to exhibit those symptoms. But he was suppressing them in front of those who are not devotees. So likewise, if any one of us, if those symptoms comes, then we should become expert at suppressing them instead of being a neophyte and imitating those symptoms and showing others these symptoms for some cheap prestige or cheap adoration. So sometimes they're not visible even in the body of a first-class devotee for certain circumstantial reasons. Even first-class devotees, they don't exhibit for circumstantial reasons. Therefore, real steady bhava is definitely displayed in the matter of cessation of material desires. This is the primary characteristic. Do we have no material desire anymore? Then if no material desire, then the steady bhava can come. These are the symptoms of one stage of bhava, utilization of every moment in transcendental loving service of the Lord, eagerness for glorifying the Lord constantly, Nam Gane Sada Ruchi. This we discussed last week. Attraction for living in the land of the Lord, attachment to Vrindavan, complete detachment from material happiness, virakti, no desire for material happiness, and pridelessness, mana shunyata. They don't think good about themselves. One who has developed, one devotee exhibited many symptoms of bhava, and he was exhibiting. I asked one senior Prabhupada disciple that Prabhu, this is then. Anyways, no need to go in that conversation. But the idea is, um, those who actually exhibit those symptoms, they have no pride. They think themselves as very fallen, very lowly. Like we see Rupa Goswami, he would not even go close to the Lord because he would think that he and Sanatana Goswami, they would think themselves as worse than Jagai and Madhai. They would call themselves a Neech Jati, Neech Kama Kaj, Neech Karmi, Neech Jati. Our karma is Neech, our Jati is Neech. They are Saraswat Brahmana family. But just because they worked with the Muslim king, they would consider themselves as Neech Jati, Neech Karmi, Neech Kama Kaj. So this is natural for pure devotee or the one who has attained the stage of Bhava also. Mana Shunyata, Shunya means zero. There is no pride in them. Pride is also an anartha. And all these things, they bar us, they stop us from exhibiting complete realization, from deepening our spiritual absorption. One who has developed all these transcendental qualities is really possessed of the bhava stage, as distinguished from the stone-hearted imitator or mundane devotee. The whole process can be summarized as follows. The advanced devotee who chants the holy name of the Lord in a perfectly offenseless manner and is friendly to everyone can actually relish the transcendental taste for glorifying the Lord. Who can relish? One who is friendly to everyone and one who is offenseless, perfectly offenseless while chanting. He can actually relish the transcendental taste of glorifying the Lord, and the result of such realization is reflected in the cessation of all material desires. As mentioned above, the neophytes, due to their being in the lower stage of devotional service, are invariably envious, so much so that they invent their own ways and means of devotional regulations without following the acharyas, and they don't follow perfectly what Srila Prabhupada says. They make their own means, own ways. This is what it is, this is what it is not. And that is a sign of envy. Envy with no envy means following the acharyas as it is. Envy means accepting some part of what Krishna and what Acharya says and rejecting some other parts. As such, even if they make a show of constantly chanting the holy name of the Lord, they cannot relish the transcendental chanting of the holy name. Therefore, the show of tears in the eyes, trembling, perspiration, unconsciousness, etc. is condemned. They can, however, get in touch with a pure devotee of the Lord and rectify their bad habits. Otherwise, they shall continue to be strong-hearted and unfit for any treatment. A complete progressive march on the return path home back to Godhead will depend on the instructions of the revealed scriptures directed by a realized devotee. When we understand the scriptures under guidance of realized devotees like our spiritual masters, and then we follow their instruction as it is, and then we use all of our limbs in serving the Lord, and gradually, with patience, as the heart becomes purified, as we develop stability, nishtha, develop ruchi, taste, develop attachment, and then these symptoms will come. When these symptoms actually come, then at that point of time there is zero pridelessness. One is constantly engaged in serving Krishna, and one is not attracted to any material desires, and one has very strong attachment to the abode of the Lord, to Shri Vrindavan Dham, and they condemn themselves when they exhibit those symptoms, and they are very expert in hiding those symptoms. And a pure devotee shows as I have nothing, but an immature devotee, he shows that I have got Krishna prema. So Prabhupada is quoting Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami and how critical they were in trying to take these symptoms cheaply. So that's all we have for today. If there any discussion, we can take now. Any questions? All right. So thank you all very much for joining. If I spoke anything wrong, please forgive me as a humble servant. Vanchakalpatarubhesha kripa sindhuve evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dhanwad
Thank you
Prabhuji.
so
Thank you,
much,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Dandavat
Hare
pranam,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Dandavat pranam,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. Hare Krishna.